Hello. My name is Alexandra. In this text effects tutorial, we'll learn how to easily turn type into gold with Photoshop using a few simple layer styles in our own custom gradient. Once the main effect is complete, we'll add sparkles with the help of one of Photoshop's brushes to make our gold letters really shine. Create a new Photoshop document. Let's begin from scratch by creating a new Photoshop document for our effect. Go up to the File menu in the menu bar along the top of the screen and choose New. For this tutorial, I'll set my width to 1600 pixels and my height to 800 pixels, and I'll leave the resolution set to its default value of 72 pixels/inch. I have my background contents set to white. Click OK when you're white. Click OK when you're done and your new document will appear on the screen. Fill the new document with black. Let's change the background color from white to black so our gold. Go up to the Edit menu at the top of the screen and choose Fill. This opens the Fill dialog box. Set the Use option at the top to black. Down at the bottom of the dialog box, make sure mode is set to normal and opacity is at 100%. Select the Type tool. Select Photoshop's Type tool from the Tools panel along the left of the screen. Choose your font. For this tutorial, I'll use Times New Roman Bold, but of course you can choose something different. Don't worry about the size of the type for now since we'll resize it ourselves later. Add your text. Resize the text. Let's resize the text using Photoshop's Free Transform command. Go up to the Edit menu at the top of the screen and choose Free Transform. You can also select Free Transform from the keyboard by pressing Ctrl+T. Duplicate the text layer. At the moment, we have two layers in our document, the black filled background layer and a type layer containing our text. We need to create a copy of our type layer. The easiest way to do that is to click on it, and with your mouse button still held down, drag the type layer down onto the new layer icon at the bottom of the Layers panel, second icon from the right. Release your mouse button, and Photoshop adds a copy of the type layer above the original. Add a gradient overlay. With the copy of the type layer selected, it should be highlighted in blue. Click on the Layer Styles icon, the FX icon, at the bottom of the Layers panel. Choose Gradient Overlay from the list that appears. Edit the gradient. This opens Photoshop's Layer Style dialog box set to the Gradient Overlay options in the middle column. By default, Photoshop uses a black to white gradient. We need to edit the gradient, replacing the black and white with colors that look more golden. To do that, click on the Gradient Preview bar. This opens the Gradient Editor. Double-click on the black color stop below the left side of the gradient. This once again opens the color picker. I've sampled the colors I'm going to use from a photo of a gold coin, so if you want to follow along with these same colors, set the R value in the color picker to 247, the G value to 238, and the B value to 173. Click OK when you are done to close out of the color picker. Back in the Gradient Editor, double-click on the white color stop below the right side of the gradient. When the color picker reappears, set the R value to 193, the G value to 172 and the B value to 81. Click OK when you are done. Save the gradient as a preset. We're going to need this same gradient again a bit later, so let's save it. In the Gradient Editor, enter a name for your custom gradient just below the preset's thumbnails. I'll name mine Gold. Then, click the New button to save the gradient. A new thumbnail for the gradient will appear up in the presets area, allowing us to quickly reselect the gradient anytime we need it. Click OK to close out of the Gradient Editor, but leave the Layer Style dialog box open. Your type should now look like this. Change the gradient style to reflected. In the Layer Style dialog box, change the style of the gradient from linear, the default setting, to reflected. This will move the darker gold color to both the top and bottom of the text, leaving the lighter color passing through the middle. Select the Bevel and Emboss layer style. Click directly on the words Bevel and Emboss at the top of the list of styles along the left of the Layer Style dialog box. If you simply click in its checkbox to select it, you'll turn the style on but you won't have access to any of its options. We need the options, and for that, we need to click directly on the style's name. Change the technique to Chisel Hard. The middle column of the Layer Style dialog box will change to the Bevel and Emboss options. Change the technique from Smooth to Chisel Hard. Change the gloss contour to Ring Double. Then, down in the shading section, click on the small arrow to the right of the gloss contour thumbnail. Don't click on the thumbnail itself, click the arrow beside it, and select the Ring Double contour by double-clicking on its thumbnail, third one from the left, bottom row. Turn on anti-aliasing. Directly beside gloss contour is the anti-aliased option. Click inside its checkbox to select it. This will smooth out any jagged edges that might become visible. Here's the effect so far. Increase the size to fill in the letters. Increase the size of the Bevel and Emboss to close up the open space inside the letters. The easiest way to do this is to click inside the size value box to make it active, then press the up arrow on your keyboard repeatedly. As you do, you'll see the letters filling in from the outer edges in towards the centers. The actual size value you need will depend on the size of the document you are using. For me, a value of 46 pixels does the job. And now the letters are nicely filled in, making them look more solid. Increase the depth to enhance the lighting effect. Next, increase the depth value by dragging its slider towards the right. This will enhance the lighting and add more contrast to the reflection in the letters. I'll set my depth value to around 170%. Turn on contour. Click inside the checkbox for the contour style directly below the bevel and emboss style on the left of the layer style dialog box. There's no need to change any options for the contour style. We simply need to turn it on, and for that, all we need to do is click inside its checkbox. The contour style enhances the lighting effect even further. Add an inner glow. We have one last effect to apply before we exit out of the layer style dialog box. Click directly on the words inner glow in the list of layer styles along the left. The options for the inner glow will appear in the middle column of the layer style dialog box. First, change the blend mode of the inner glow from screen to multiply, then lower the opacity to 50%. Change the color of the glow by clicking on the color swatch directly below the word noise. Choose the orange color. Finally, increase the glow size to around 75 px, although you may need to experiment with this value depending on the size of your document. The goal with the size value is to make sure the glow completely covers the thickness of the letters. When you're done, click OK to close out of the layer style dialog box. Your effect should now look similar to this. Select the original type layer. Click on the original type layer in the layers panel to select it and make it active. Add a stroke. Click once again on the layer styles icon at the bottom of the layers panel. Choose stroke from the list. Photoshop will reopen the layer style dialog box, this time set to the stroke options in the middle column. First, change the fill type from color to gradient and change the style from linear to reflected. Then, increase the size of the stroke at the top to around 8 px, make sure position is set to outside. Choose the custom gradient preset. Back in step 11, we saved our custom gold gradient as a preset. Let's quickly set our stroke to those same colors by selecting the preset. Click on the small arrow to the right of the gradient preview bar. This will pop open the gradient preset picker. Double-click on the thumbnail for the gold custom gradient. It should be the last thumbnail in the list. And now the stroke is set to the same colors as the text itself. Apply bevel and emboss to the stroke. Click directly on the words bevel and emboss at the top of the list of styles on the left. This time, rather than applying it to the text, we'll apply it to the stroke. Change the style of the bevel and emboss from inner bevel to stroke emboss so that the effect is applied to the stroke itself. Then, just as we did before, change technique to chisel hard, and set the size to around 8 px, same size as the stroke. Also as we did before, click on the small arrow beside the gloss contour thumbnail and double-click on the ring, double contour to select it. Finally, select anti-alias to smooth out any jagged edges. Turn on the contour style directly below bevel and emboss by clicking inside its checkbox. Apply an outer glow. There's just one layer style remaining. Let's add a faint glow to the text, as if light was reflecting off the gold letters. Click directly on the words outer glow on the left of the layer style dialog box to turn on the outer glow style and bring up its options. Lower the opacity of the glow to 40%, then click on the color swatch directly below the word noise to change the color. When the color picker appears, use the same color we chose for the inner glow by setting the R value to 232, G to 128 and B to 31. Click OK to close out of the color picker. Finally, increase the size of the glow to around 60 px. At this point, we're done with our layer styles, so click OK to close out of the layer style dialog box. Here's our gold text effect with all of our styles applied.